name is Josh Hansen, and this is my presentation over understanding my community for EDL 856 Module 5. I will be discussing the community of Mulvane, Kansas. So to begin, I just want to talk about a few of our customs and traditions here in Mulvane. Mulvane is a smaller community, about 15 minutes south of Wichita, Kansas. Most of our students are second or third generation students. We've recently seen a slow decline in our socioeconomic status in the community. There's very little diversity in our school district. We're an older community, and with that can come a little bit of a resistance to change. We're very traditionally based in Mulvane. A few of those traditions include Old Settlers, Homecoming, Senior Night, and Classy Kittens. Old Settlers is a celebration of our town that's held on the third weekend in August each year. So that third Friday in August, the school district always gives the students and staff the day off and allows us to celebrate with our friends and family and our community. There's a carnival, there's a parade, there's a rodeo, there's a car show. So there's just a lot of things going on around in our downtown area, just celebrating the history of our town. Like most communities, we have our homecoming and senior nights. Those are fun nights just because it's neat to see the community get out and support our students and our school district. I also included Classy Kittens, which was a tradition that was started several years ago that allows our elementary students to join our high school dance team called the Classy Cats in a performance at halftime of one of our football games, as well as at halftime of one of our basketball games in the winter. So Mulvane has several traditions like this that make it a fun community to be a part of and a fun district to work in. Next, I'm going to talk about the population characteristics of Mulvane. So most of the people in Mulvane have a high school diploma. Around 50% of our students go on to either get a certificate or an advanced degree. Mulvane's average age is 46 years old, and there's been an increase in that over the last few years. 51% of our population is female, while 49% of our population is male. There's very little social issues in Mulvane because the demographic is 96% white, with the next grouping being 2% Hispanic. We have seen an increase over the last few years in our Hispanic community. Next, I'll discuss our communication channels in Mulvane. So we communicate in several different ways. We communicate online through social media, Facebook, Twitter. We also use television, radio, newspaper, and district newsletters. In our most recent survey, we found that a lot of our community members still prefer the hard copy of our district newsletters. But the primary source of our information is relayed to our community through the Wichita radio stations and television stations. We do have a local newspaper in town called the Mulvane News. We use that to include our calendar, our school lunch menu, upcoming dates, important events in the district, and we've also started printing our newsletter and part of our newspaper in Spanish to accommodate for that growing Hispanic population in our community. But like I mentioned, most of our communication channels are going to come through our Wichita radio and television stations. Next, I'm going to discuss a few of our community groups here in Mulvane. The first I will discuss is our Mulvane Education Foundation. This foundation was created about 10 years ago, and they work together to host several different fundraisers and give that money back to the school district. Last year, they were able to give out $20,000 through grant money to teachers. And it's an awesome group that is made up of our community members. Next, I've included our Mulvane Chamber of Commerce, which does a great job of bringing in businesses as well as supporting our existing local businesses. The next group I included was the Kansas Star Casino. The Kansas Star Casino gives $500 to teachers at the beginning of each school year. It gives $100 to students and families in our district at the beginning of each school year, It also gives a $1,000 scholarship to each student that graduates and is going on to pursue a college degree. I also included our local bank called the Carson Bank and our local churches because they are huge members of the Mulvane Education Foundation and help in supporting our school district. And then I also felt the need to include the Mulvane Voice, which is a social media outlet that our community uses to express concerns and voice their opinions about things that are happening. I think it's important to include that because it's important for our administration and our school district to hear those concerns and questions and be able to respond to the needs of the community. Next, I'm going to discuss our leadership here in Mulvane. So in Mulvane, we have one superintendent, one assistant superintendent, board of education that has 7 members. We have building principals, and then we have our community members, parents, and other stakeholders. And I've included them in this order because it's a little bit of a hierarchy. So decisions are kind of made at that upper level and then pushed down and out to the community members. Next is our community leaders' characteristics. In recent years, we've seen a lot of change in our leadership in Mulvane. Luckily for us, a lot of our new leadership was from qualified applicants from within our district. So our new leadership came in with an understanding of the needs of our community and understand the importance of being visible and approachable. They understand the importance of developing a relationship with those community leaders, and they understood the importance of working with those existing traditions in our community as well as creating new ones that will benefit our students. Next, I'll talk about our economic conditions here in Mulvane. The median income is $68,000, but the majority of our families are closer to that $40,000 mark. We have a few families that are that are pretty well off that drive up that median income. But I wanted to include that majority because there is a big gap from our lower income families and our high income families, which can lead to some of the tensions that I'll discuss in my community later. Most of our community members are employed through either agriculture, aviation, medicine, or the schools. Most of our community members commute to Wichita for work, and the property value in Mulvane has stayed steady over the last several years, but has fallen behind some of the communities local that are close to our area, like Derby and Andover. Next, I'll discuss our political structure in Mulvane. We have a city mayor with 5 members of our city council. The city shares and maintains multiple facilities with the school district, and the community understands that our school's success is important as a piece of our growth as a community. So as we want to see that improvement and growth of our community, we know that we need to improve and provide new schools, new homes, and new businesses to benefit the growth and improvement of our community. Next, I'll talk about a few of our social tensions. Our biggest social tension comes from that income disparity. We do have a big gap between our lower income and our higher income families. There's also a divide between the traditionalists and the progressives. We have several members of our community that are very committed to the way things have always been done, and then we have a few other community members that are a little more active and want to see some change. So in our district, it's important for us to kind of bridge between those two groups and find that happy medium. We also see some tension as the community begins to grow, and with that has come bond issues for our school district and a growing need as our community does grow, and so do the needs of our schools. One major tension within our bond issue has been the location of schools. As the community expands, we have several community members that are very, very attached to some of the locations of our schools. So that has been one primary concern as we've attempted to move forward in our bond issue. Sources of information: I've used our school website, the census, word of mouth, the Kansas School Report Card, and like I mentioned in my introduction video, I'm from Mulvane, so I have that lifelong knowledge of being a member of this community for the majority of my lifetime, and understanding some of those needs and some of the tension that comes within our community. The next two slides, I'll talk about our power structures here in Mulvane. So Mulvane has a very strong community. The community has that strong sense of power within the direction of the schools. Like I mentioned, we recently hired a new superintendent, and as a part of our interview process, the superintendent candidates interviewed with our Mulvane Chamber of Commerce. So I think that speaks to our community ties and the importance that our community leaders have, and how we allow them that voice and a chance to be involved in our organizations. And so next, I included how it's important in our district to present all of our information through the Board of Education and to the community before implementing. In our recent surveys, there's been a push by our community members to have more of a voice, especially as we've pushed out information about the bond issue. They want their input to be heard, and so it's important for our district to provide them that opportunity, and then assess that feedback, and then follow through and implement some of those ideas to address the needs and the concerns of our district. And next, I'll talk about our multicultural issues. This is not a huge issue in Mulvane. As I mentioned earlier, our demographics are 96% white, so that's not a huge part of our current community. We do understand the value of cultural difference. It's just not a huge part of our community at this time. And then lastly, I have our slide over measuring our public opinion. We've begun a yearly survey that allows parents an opportunity to voice their opinion about the school's direction, the teachers, and just give them a chance to have more of an input about technology usage, and allows the administrators and school district to assess what we do well and what things we can work on. We also send out bond questionnaires, which has highlighted some of the different values of our community members. It's also helped us identify that concern of cost with several of our families. And then we've started having a little more of opportunities for discussion within the community through informal presentations, just giving a chance for our community members to be heard and voice their ideas, and help to assess the needs of the community members in our school district. So that's a little bit of information about the community of Mulvane. I look forward to watching your guys' videos, and thank you for watching, and I hope everybody's staying safe.